6, we're back again. Kristi and Katie, your crime time friends. Stories, justice, laughs collide. True Crime Squad, come join the ride. Grab the clues, let's take a stand. For victims' voices, hand in hand. True Crime Squad, it's time to shine. Season 6, your turn, your time. True Crime Squad, where justice meets hilarity.
Hey everybody, welcome to the True Crime Squad. I'm Kristi Brower, here with my sister, co-host, and partner in all things crime, Katie Weaver.
Hello.
Hello. Hey Katie, how's it going?
Oh, it's going pretty good. Just, watching a lot of true crime stuff today and reading about some cases and, just a true crime life. I don't know.
just doing the true crime thing.
Just doing the true crime thing.
Tonight is the well, that says January, but it's February. Okay, tonight is the February watch party. Katie, you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So this is we're going to watch Apple Cider Vinegar episode 1. It'll be at 7:15 this evening, so shortly after we wrap up here with the the case updates. And it's not a true documentary. But it's based on a true story of a pretty early, I don't know what you call them anymore, health guru of some
health
sort.
Influencer.
Health influencer, that's a good term, that was faking the whole damn thing and taking people for a huge ride. So it's great. And I think that you guys will enjoy it a lot. So if you have not joined the watch party in the past, all you do is go to truecrimesquad.com and there's a link right there for our Buy Me a Coffee account. Head over to Buy Me a Coffee and sign up for the watch party. It's $2 a month. It's practically nothing. And then we'll send you a link. We've already sent out the link today, but we'll watch for that. And if anybody signs up last minute, we'll send it out again to make sure you've got it.
Yep.
It's just like this. What you'll see on the screen is this. And you'll watch it on your own device. We can't stream it because it doesn't belong to us, of course.
Right.
So we'll watch it on our devices. You'll watch it on yours. And we just hang out in the chat room and chat about it. It's a ton of fun. We've been doing watch parties for a couple of years now and really enjoy them. And we would love it if you guys joined us. So that's what's up.
Yeah. So we've got that tonight. And we have a lot of crime for you. This is, of course, our update show. So we have all kinds of things. But I think,
oh, yes, Netflix. Sorry, Netflix.
Oh, yes, Netflix. It's always Netflix. Yeah. But I think, Katie, you're going to kick it off for us with the news out of the ASAP Rocky trial.
Yes. Is it ASAP or ASAP? I'm not sure.
I've heard it ASAP. I don't know, honestly, but that's what I thought.
I probably heard it both ways, but yeah. So there's been a trial going on. This happened allegedly in Hollywood, and ASAP Rocky is Rihanna's life partner, and so she's been kind of on the edges of this trial. Also, one of his attorneys is Joe Tacopina, who has been pretty famous the last few years in the news, representing various high-powered people. And the fireworks between Tacopina and the prosecutor have been immense. I mean, immense, intense yelling at each other, sometimes personal attacks. The judge just basically has had to be like, knock it off a few times to shut it down. It has been wild, and it's been a real, it's been quite the trial. So basically, one of his, I'm going to call him acolytes. That's probably not the right word, but another guy who was kind of a part of his crew, accused him of shooting him and grazing his knuckles with an AR. And that's where this came from. He was the most,
so like biggest... the bullet grazed his
Yeah.
knuckles? Is that what he's saying? Okay.
That's what he's saying. Yeah. So they did, basically what they discovered is that the prosecution didn't really have a very strong case. They couldn't prove what gun was used or if it was even a gun. The defense was claiming it was a prop gun that he always carried for self-defense, and to just kind of shut down anybody thinking they can, go after him for whatever. And that he didn't shoot him. Now, there was also another argument that this also could have been self-defense. So a lot of people have felt like this is just kind of a bullshit deal and that this should have never been brought to trial, particularly because the evidence that they had was really scant. But this happened in allegedly 2021. It has really put his life on hold. He's been out on bail, I think 2022 actually. He's been out on bond ever since. But as a rapper and a performer, and the partner of a very famous performer who tours all over the world, this has put a pretty big stall on his life. So,
well, yeah, that's a big accusation.
Yes. So with all of that being said, the jury went out to deliberate yesterday. They were out for 3 hours and came back with the verdict. And I just wanted to share it with you because this was some wild courtroom stuff. A lot of judges don't allow this. I'm kind of glad this one did.
All jurors present, all parties and counsel are present. Juror 9, you are the foreperson?
Yes.
And it is true that the jury has reached verdicts?
Yes, Your Honor.
On both counts?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, do you have the verdict forms with you?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, would you give those to Deputy Bennett? All right, what we're going to do, folks, is Deputy Bennett is going to give the verdict forms to juror number 1. Juror number 1, I want you to look at the verdict forms, and I'm going to want to know whether these verdict forms reflect your true and correct verdicts. Juror 2, I'd like you to look over her shoulder so you can review the verdict forms. And I'm going to want to know from you whether these are your true and correct verdicts. Once I've heard from both of you, give the verdict forms to juror number 3. Juror 3, look at the verdict forms. Juror 4, look over her shoulder. So ultimately, I'm going to want to hear from all 12 of you whether these verdict forms reflect your individual true and correct verdicts. Everybody understand? All right. Deputy Bennett, put these two in the forms. Juror number 1, are those your true and correct verdicts? Yes. Juror number 2?
Yes.
Juror 3 and 4?
Yes.
Juror 5 and 6? Juror 5, are those your true and correct verdicts?
Yes.
Juror 6?
Yes.
All right, let's get the verdict forms to juror 7. Juror 8, look over her shoulder. Juror number 7, those are your true and correct verdicts? Juror 7?
Yes.
Juror 8?
Yes.
9 and 10? Juror 9?
Yes.
Juror 10?
Yes.
11 and 12. Juror 11?
Yes.
Juror 12?
Yes.
All right, all jurors have stated that the verdict forms reflect their individual true and correct verdicts. Alex, read this.
Yes, Your Honor. The Los Angeles Superior Court, County of Los Angeles. People of the State of California versus Joaquin Mayers. Case number BA 508142-01. We, the jury in the above entitled action, find the defendant, Joaquin Mayers, not guilty of
audience. Or is it a nice audience?
Hold it down. The verdict has to be read on count.
Repeat again. We, the jury, the above entitled actions, find the defendant, Rakeem Mayers, not guilty of the semi-automatic firearm in violation of Penal Code Section 245, Section B, a felony is charging count 1 of the information this 18th day of February 2025, jury seat number 9, 4%.
All right.
Title of court and cause. We, the jury, and the above entitled actions, find the defendant, Rakeem Mayers, not guilty of the crime of assault with a firearm in violation of Penal Code Section 245, Section B, a felony is charging count 2 of the information this 18th day of February 2025, juror seat number 9, 4%.
During this trial, I watched you periodically. You did what we asked of you at the very beginning, which is to give both sides a fair trial, pay attention, use your common sense, apply the law, and base your verdict on the evidence. I know you took extensive notes, and you took this as seriously as any jury could. We cannot have jury trials without folks like you. So you certainly have my gratitude. I want to extend to you my best wishes. Again, thank you. The admonition to not discuss the case no longer applies. You can talk about the case with anybody you want to.
That's probably all we need. But have you ever seen that?
No, I have not. That was pretty wild.
Yeah.
Well, and the way he pulled the jury was weird too.
Yeah, I've never seen it like that before either. Yeah.
Maybe he expected it was going to erupt like that, and he wanted to get that out of the way first.
Mm-hmm. Maybe
that
so.
Could be.
That's true. Maybe so. Of course, that was Rihanna's lap that he leaped into. She was there with their 2 little ones, and she's been there. The judge kind of early on asked the defense if she was going to be attending, and they said that they didn't know, but they didn't think so. And the judge said, well, she's more than welcome here. I would just kind of like to know if she's going to be. And they're like, yeah, we don't know. But she actually came quite a lot and kind of started just entering in the front door like anybody else and just sitting in the courtroom, just, supporting her man. Like she should have every right to
be there.
Yeah. But during closing arguments, she came in with their littles. They have 2 little ones. Yeah.
Wow.
So.
Well, I'm glad. It sounds like it was a bogus deal. Why did it ever even go to trial?
Well, one of the things they had was a phone call in which the victim had said that he'd drop the criminal charges if he could get paid. So basically, he was just trying to extort.
Yeah, he was.
Seems like that's what this was about.
Wow, that's awful.
Yeah.
Just seriously screw up somebody's life for money.
Is there going to be a revenge track now? Asking for a friend?
I'm going to assume, but I mean, I'm not familiar with his music.
I'm actually not either at all.
But Rihanna could, Yeah.
So he's already scheduled. He probably already was, but he's got 3 big things coming up. He is at the Met. The Met Gala coming up and 2 other big events. So it looks like he's going to be able to slide his life right back on track. But really sucks to be prosecuted for a crime that you didn't commit. But it seems to me that the jury got this one right. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, the victim. Yes, Amanda, thanks for bringing that up. The victim returned to find the shell casings after the police searched the scene and came back and he said, I found them. They're right here. Yeah.
What?
Uh-huh.
And they took them as evidence?
Yeah.
Are you serious? Like, hello? Policing 101? What the hell? That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a wild case from start to finish, and I am no expert in it. That's the most I know, but I saw this jury result yesterday and had to do a little homework because I just thought that was wild as hell. So there you go.
That is wild, but yay, good for him.
Yeah,
what a bunch of crap.
Absolutely.
Wow. Well, another case that you all are very familiar with because of us would be the Jeremy Best case. This is Jeremy
Yeah.
right here. And Jeremy is the man accused in Idaho, right here in Idaho Falls, where I'm from, of, well, not, I guess it was in Teton County.
In Teton County, yeah.
He was accused of the murder of his pregnant wife, and then accused of going on the run with their 10-month-old son, who was also found deceased. This is the guy who was found wandering in a store in 30-degree weather naked, taken to the hospital. The police
Yeah.
didn't put him on a hold. The hospital put him on a hold, sent him home with his wife.
Yeah.
Obviously not well.
Yeah.
He had the psychotic episode, and he shot and killed his wife and unborn child,
Yep.
and then went on the run with the baby and killed him too.
Yep.
So he has been facing a first-degree murder with the death penalty attached case in those deaths, and he has now pled guilty
Mm-hmm.
to first-degree murder in the death of his son Zeke Best, and second-degree murder in the deaths of his wife Callie Best and her unborn child Freya.
Yeah.
What we know is that his attorney is Jim Archibald, same
Yeah.
attorney as Lori Vallow. And what we know from Jim, from having watched him defend Lori Vallow, that he says that in death penalty attached murder cases, he considers it a win if he manages to get the death penalty off the table.
Yep.
He's not looking for acquittal in a death penalty case. He's just looking to save his client's life.
Yeah.
That is likely to happen here.
Mm-hmm.
Under the plea agreement, he will face life in prison, but
Yeah.
he will, because he pled guilty, he will not face the death penalty here in Idaho.
Yep.
So he hasn't been sentenced yet. He'll be sentenced on July 23rd of this year. We'll keep an eye on that. As you know, this is a case we've talked about a lot because of the failing of the system, the mental health system.
Yeah.
In this particular situation. It is absolutely tragic in every way that you can imagine. This case is absolutely horrific.
Yeah.
And sad. And it just, it was a
the
test of our mental health
police-
system that failed.
Yep. Totally failed. Had the police or the
hospital
emergency room doctor at Irmac put him on a hold, this likely would have never happened.
Right.
We're not here saying Jeremy Best doesn't need to go to prison. Jeremy Best obviously is not safe to be in the public. However, Jeremy Best got totally failed, as did his 3 victims, by people who just didn't do their job, who just didn't care. And that is horrifying. There is a lawsuit against Irmac from her family, Kaylee's family. And good. They should be held accountable for this.
I wish there was one against the Bonneville County Sheriff's Office too.
And perhaps they're involved in that. I'm not sure.
And maybe they are. It appears that the police have sort of skated under the radar, but it was the first line of defense in this situation could have been the officer that sent him in the ambulance to the hospital could have put him on hold and didn't.
Oh,
and then the doctor didn't.
Threw it in the laps of the hospital. And the hospital didn't do it either.
Just horrifically sad, this whole situation. And honestly, I'm sure that this plea deal is the best thing for him. It's the best thing that he could get at this point.
Yeah, it's the best thing he could do for his family and hers so that they do not have to
not put them through
a
a
trial.
So trial would be horrific. And he knows he did it. I mean, he's never been...
No one's denying.
He's never said he was denying he did it. He knows he did it, but he was not well when he did it.
Yeah.
So
just sad all around.
It is. It's really sad. It's a very sad ending to a just hideous situation. So
yeah.
But I am grateful, I think, for the families and the community that this case doesn't have to go to trial.
Definitely, yes.
And with that, speaking of cases going to trial, Katie, there are some results with the judge in Bryan Kohberger. You want to tell us about that?
Absolutely. Yeah. So we've been waiting because, there was a hearing here a couple of weeks ago where Taylor was asking for a Franks hearing. She was arguing about the DNA and the way it was procured and a few other things. So we've just kind of been waiting to see what was going to happen here. Oh, she was also trying to claim that the police and prosecutor lied to the previous judge, in order to get a warrant in the first place. Because they had found unknown blood on a hand railing. And they
Right.
didn't disclose that to the prosecutor or to the judge when they were asking for a warrant for Bryan Kohberger.
Yeah, because they had
Um,
identified Bryan Kohberger's DNA in the
yes.
house.
Basically, and this happened in their back and forth in their hearing, the judge said, but we're talking about the blood that was on the knife sheath. That's your problem. Not
Yeah.
blood that we don't know when or how it was deposited on a railing. We're talking about, or not blood, but DNA that was on the knife sheath. Anyway. Yeah, this was a total win for the state. He sided against Ann Taylor in everything
Across the board.
across the board. So yes, the DNA will stand. Yes, the uh, testimony of the roommate will stand. That was the other thing she was arguing with, that it was inconsistent and that she uh, shouldn't be, allowed to be a credible witness. He's saying that's ridiculous. One of her arguments was that she
That's
couldn't
for
pick
her
out
to
a
deal with
picture
at
of
trial.
him. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like, how would she pick out a picture of him? He was masked. All she saw was his eyes and
Yeah.
said he had bushy eyebrows. That's all she
Yep.
knew. We
Yeah.
can't ask her to pick someone out of a lineup because how could she?
She couldn't have. The guy was wearing a mask.
Yeah.
Also, anyone else surprised they haven't shaved Kohberger's eyebrows?
Right? They haven't even tried to
Are they
diminish those
going to
suckers.
for trial? Because he does have big bushy eyebrows.
Yeah, he does.
I just think that's kind of
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah, I do too. So
You
he does not
tell
believe
him to
that
start
Kohberger's
plucking 'em.
constitutional rights were violated,
Good.
which is something that she was trying to argue, that basically the judge says there's no expectation of privacy on DNA that's found at a crime scene.
Yep.
There's
Not.
just not. That's not a violation of anybody's rights to be taking crime scene DNA and evaluating it. Like,
Right.
duh.
Just like
Yeah.
there isn't if you throw stuff away. The minute you throw
Right.
something away, it doesn't belong to you anymore.
Yeah. And yes,
It's
the
just
police can look it
how it
over. That is very established case law. So anyway, big wins for the state. Ann Taylor lost every bit of that. It's not a
Yeah.
surprise. She already lost it with the first judge too. These are
Yeah.
We're just relitigating the same stuff over and over again. But there you go.
It-
Except for that
does-
bit about there being
Oh.
the unknown male DNA that on the hand railing. That was one thing that we did not know. So because this case has a gag order, we're basically left to inferring what we can from any hearing that there is, because
Yeah.
there's a lot that isn't being said to the public. And so that was a piece that we did not know, but there you go.
Well, and this is a question I've had every time this comes up, is there some kind of test on their end about if they lose enough of these hearings about this really key evidence, is there going to be a plea? I mean, he's facing the death penalty ×4.
Right.
Is he
Don't know.
too arrogant? Is he too Chad Daybelly for that?
I think so. I think he's too arrogant for that.
I do too. I just wonder, like, for her as
Mhm.
his defense attorney, is she going, okay, dude, like, this is getting very real. Like,
Mhm.
you are very likely to be convicted and given the
Mhm.
death penalty in this situation.
I wonder
Wondered.
too. I mean, is her philosophy similar to Jim Archibald's, or is it not?
Yeah.
She's putting up a much larger fight than I've ever seen Jim Archibald put up. So I would think perhaps not.
And she's fought the death penalty too, and it's still very much
Yes.
attached.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. I just wonder, like, because she just keeps fighting these same fights over and over again. Is there
It's just all she's got.
some,
And so,
it's all she's got, or is there some underlying plan to this? I don't know, man, but it's
yeah.
pretty definitive at this point.
Yeah.
Well,
Totally.
let me tell you something else is pretty definitive at this point, something I don't think any of us ever thought would be the case ever, and that is, we know who Jack the Ripper is, guys. Like, for real.
Yeah. For real, for real. Yeah.
For real, for real. Russell Edwards, who is a researcher, a Jack the Ripper researcher, says that Aaron Kominski, who was a Polish barber, is the serial killer.
Mm-hmm.
Some people not so sure about this evidence. Others are like, no, this is it, man. He says he has a definitive DNA match,
Yes.
which I think is really interesting. I'm not sure. This is such an old case. How do you know what you're testing,
Well, and
But
how do you
here-
know when it was deposited? But
Yeah. But I mean, this is, of course, Jack the Ripper is a very, very famous case.
yeah.
And he murdered and mutilated women in London in 1888. He was kind of
Mhm.
one of the very first serial killers that's documented.
Mm-hmm.
He says, Russell Edwards says, that there's DNA on a shawl that belonged to one of the victims.
Uh-huh.
And that DNA is a match to
Mhm.
Aaron Kominski.
Now, this is some seriously old murderabilia.
It
Someone
is. The fact
actually
that this
had
even
the
exists.
shawl and had it,
Yes.
preserved.
Kominski
Yep.
was a suspect in the original investigation, but he was never arrested.
Yeah.
So the shawl came from the murder scene of Catherine Eddowes in 1888 in London's Mitre Square. It came into Edwards' possession in 2007. Like, but where was it in between? You know what I'm saying?
Well, didn't he purchase it? My understanding is
yeah.
he purchased it. Yeah.
He did. Yeah. It's believed that Edwards believes that Kominski had schizophrenia and he went into an asylum after these murders.
Oh, interesting.
He was known as a barber, but if you know from the time frame, barbers were known as barber surgeons.
Yes.
Barbers did all kinds of stuff. Sometimes they were dentists.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they did small surgeries. This is so funny for me, I think, for both of us, because our dad was a
Right.
barber. Like, wow.
Who did zero
but
of those things?
Yeah, didn't do any
Yeah.
of those things. But a barber at that time did have some anatomical knowledge,
Yes.
some equipment,
Surgical
that kind of thing.
knowledge. Yeah.
Yeah, because one of the things that has always been said is that some of the stuff that happened, some of the ways that these women were mutilated, indicated somebody with some kind of anatomy and medical training or knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
So is this it? I don't know. I know that we've
Mhm.
heard things like this before. I think that this is maybe the closest we've ever come.
I'm going to roll with it. I think it's
Yeah.
very interesting. It's very Barbara of Seville-ish.
Isn't it, right?
Like, wow. Yeah. And
So-
yes, he had been looked at as a suspect. Over the years,
Mhm.
people have suggested him as a suspect in the past. Yes.
Yeah, he has some documentation from 1891 in regards to Kominski that he was seen at the time as a strong suspect, and also that Kominski was described as having strong homicidal tendencies, was prone to solitary vices and auditory hallucinations.
Oh, interesting. Hmm.
He wrote a book. He wrote the book naming Jack the Ripper. He named Kominski there, but like, The DNA thing is pretty wild.
Yeah, it is. Is this the oldest
So,
DNA for the Wynn case?
right. And this is so the DNA matched with a direct descendant of Catherine Eddowes,
Mm-hmm.
and DNA from semen stains on the shawl matched with a direct descendant of Kominsky. So this was a genealogical DNA match,
That's pretty compelling.
right? Um, the bottom line is this is probably the closest that we will ever get,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, others have definitely identified Aaron Kaminsky. That
Mm-hmm.
it's not a big surprise. I think the surprising information is the DNA.
Yeah.
Right? That the DNA still existed. The thing is, though, Kristi, now DNA testing takes such a small sample
Mm-hmm.
versus in the past that it's incredible what they
Mm-hmm.
can do now. What little
But the
tiny
shawl
bits
must
of
have been
evidence.
stored very safely,
It must
for
have
this to
been.
line up for sure. Yeah.
For it to still even exist is crazy. So anyway, and some
Wild.
people are like, well, Catherine Eddowes was a prostitute, so how do we know that this was related to her death? We don't for sure. We really don't. But it certainly points to somebody who was already a suspect.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's compelling. Yeah.
it is very compelling. So maybe we have the answer. I don't know. That Jack the Ripper was my very first serial killer case I was interested in as a kid. I read books about him
Yeah.
and about those murders. Jack the Ripper, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's books, and Agatha Christie's books got me
Yeah.
into crime.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty interesting. I'll bet many of you of our same generation,
Mm-hmm.
long before, procedural TV shows or anything existed. There were books,
There were books.
actual paper ones.
Oh, for me, it was Nancy Drew, all the Nancy Drews,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to say the Bundys, but I think that's wrong. The twins.
Oh,
Come on, guys, help me out. Somebody knows. There were actually
can't think
some,
of it.
like, Nancy Drew and those twins in some books together, too.
Yes, the boys,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
Yeah. Somebody will know.
Bobbsey.
The
Oh, the
Bobbsey
Bobbsey twins.
Is that? No, the
Those were
Hardy
girls,
Boys.
though. Hardy Boys.
I
Hardy
think it was
Boys. Yes.
It was the Hardy Boys. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Not the Bundys.
Yeah.
That's totally different and came later.
Yeah, that was a totally other thing. But wow,
But maybe it was
so
the Bobbsey
interesting.
twins too. I don't know. But yeah, I read a lot of mystery books like that.
Yeah, because the Bobbsey twins were they in some of the Nancy Drews? I don't know, but I remember all of them.
I don't know. I'm old as hell. I don't know. It's been a long time.
Agreed. But with that, Katie, there's some interesting stuff up in Delphi.
Yes.
Want to tell us about that?
Yeah, a couple of things. So no big surprise at all. Judge Gohl has come back with some orders without hearing. I know, wild. What does Judge Gohl do all day? I'm asking for a friend who wonders why she never has hearings.
Yeah. No.
On very important topics. So this was the defendant's motion to correct abstract of judgment filed on January 20th, reviewed and denied without hearing. And then also on the same day, this court, having received defendant Richard Allen's verified motion to correct errors filed January 20th, 2025. These are his appeals, essentially. The state's response to motion to correct error filed February 4th, and the defendant's verified motion to strike the state's response motion to correct error now denies defendant Richard Allen verified motion to correct error and further denies the defendant's verified motion to strike the state's response to a motion to correct error without hearing. Basically, no. We won't have a hearing. We won't discuss it. Just no. I mean, that was pretty much Richard Allen's entire experience with Judge Gohl, so I don't know why it would be different now. So,
right.
But something else has come up that's pretty interesting. So there's an inmate now that is saying that he was writing letters about Ron Logan to Nick McClellan, the prosecutor.
Right.
He says he wrote him multiple letters. His name is Richie Davis. He says he sent multiple letters to Nick McClellan telling him all about, he was the cellie of uh, Ron Logan. And he says Ron Logan totally confessed the Delphi murders to him. Remember that Ron Logan was the old dude who owned the land the girls died on.
Yeah.
And right after they died, he was arrested on a probation violation. So this guy says he told him all about how he did it and what he did, and that he has been writing letters to Nick McClelland since last summer. And they did do a polygraph, and he said the polygraph was just made out to be, and this is based on a letter that he's now sent to a news reporter because he's frustrated. He feels like he wasn't heard and that they have the wrong person in prison. So from his letter, he says, I was requested to be placed on polygraph. They made it all about my motive, i.e., media attention. It wasn't about motive. I'm a man who has kids myself and felt deeply for them baby girls and families. He's in prison, by the way, for methamphetamine. Um, he said he was told that he would wear a wire when speaking with Logan to gather this information, and he was shut down on that and told it isn't necessary. He also says that Ron Logan told him that he's known Nick McClellan his whole life and they're good family friends, and he promised him he would keep him out of prison for this.
Oh my God.
So it's not that the state didn't, it's not that the defense didn't know about this guy, because they did. What they're saying is that there are some major Brady violations because they did not receive all of these letters and all of these,
Right.
like the
Where are these
polygraph and
letters?
all of these things. They're saying they didn't receive any of this. And so they believe that there is, a Brady violation here that needs to be evaluated. So was there?
Right.
Don't know. You know how the state likes to drop many terabytes of information on the defense without any, clear path to sort through it, and it could be that it's there somewhere. But they're
Or you
saying
know
it
how they like
isn't,
to
and
just,
that they did not know.
darn, we lost it.
Yeah.
We don't have it. Sorry.
Right.
I mean,
So
do
yeah,
you think those
Baldwin.
letters actually? Do you think that prosecutor would have saved those letters?
Right. Well, I mean, legally he has to, but
But let's get real. In
Yeah.
this case,
yeah. So what Baldwin's trying to do in some of these things that Gold is now shooting down that are going to be appealed is trying to get an answer out of McClellan about the letters. He wants to know, where the hell are they? Why didn't we receive them? What other materials that have to do with Richie have we not seen?
right?
So anyway, pretty interesting stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Legally means nothing in this case. It's true.
It's
Yep.
so true.
Right. Good question. Teresa said, would the judge have allowed that evidence into the trial? No, she would not have.
But was
No.
that evidence that maybe should have given this prosecutor pause for prosecuting Richard Allen in the first fucking place?
Right.
Like, that's what I think.
No. Yep.
But can they prove the connection between Logan and the prosecutor?
Yeah. Yeah. And yes, Baldwin was on Defense Diaries last night talking about it. So you can go and check that out. It's heavy stuff.
That is wild. It's just, God.
Mm-hmm.
The violations to Richard Allen's rights are so massive and completely ignored in this case. It's just disgusting.
Yeah. Yeah, it all smacks of corruption for sure.
Yeah.
Jennifer said one of McClellan's responses to Andy Baldwin was, "You had your chance." Bitch, that's not how this works at all.
Are you fucking kidding me? And all they had was just being obstructed
Mhm.
right and left. Like,
Mhm.
had their chance. No, they didn't.
No, they did
Are you
not.
kidding me?
Yeah.
Ugh.
So we'll continue to keep an eye on this, but I thought that was pretty interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I have
That's
there.
pretty crazy. Oh yeah, just dawned on me. I'm in charge.
You're
I'm
in
supposed to be
charge.
talking now. Right. Duh. Well, okay, let's talk about Rachel Henry. This case is back a ways. This happened in 2020. You probably remember it. This is Rachel Henry. Rachel Henry murdered her 3 children.
Oh
She
boy.
suffocated them and then laid them out on the couch so they looked like they were sleeping. And she has finally pled guilty to these 3 murders. And she was sentenced to life in prison. She pled guilty to 3 counts of first degree murder and has now been sentenced to life in prison.
What was the motive?
She was
Do we know?
22 years old when this happened.
Oh my God.
And her children were 3, 2, and 7 months.
Oh Lordy. So she was just a baby.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think that's the one
It's-
that strangled the kids and jumped out the window. No, that's somebody
No,
else.
no, this is a different one. This is a different
Yeah.
one. Apparently she suffocated one of her daughters, and her son got upset and started hitting her. And so then later she put him down for a nap and smothered him
Oh my
and
hell.
then killed the baby
Oh God.
and just laid him on the couch like they were sleeping. Her husband and her great aunt were around when this happened, and the great
Mhm.
aunt is actually who called 911 and
Sure.
reported that the kids were dead.
Oh my
Um,
goodness.
the aunt says of the day that they were killed, she said, I felt like I was losing my mind. I didn't know what was going on.
Oh my
She
goodness.
said, Rachel Henry said, I didn't know what was going on. I told you, I felt like I was losing my mind because I didn't understand why everyone was acting the way they were. I was on drugs. I was freaking out and I didn't know what to do. I know I was scared.
Oh,
She
so I wondered if this was postpartum depression, but she was using.
she was on, yeah, and it could have been a combination of, but yeah, she was using drugs. Um, it's just an absolutely hideous case. It has taken obviously 5 years to resolve,
Yeah.
which is pretty wild and awful for family
Mhm.
members who have been wrapped up in it for this long. But yeah,
Mhm.
so now she has been sentenced to life in prison.
Yeah. Wow. Very, very sad. Well, there was that case in Wyoming last week, and we didn't do a report on it because it wasn't murder, it was postpartum depression, but a mother that shot all of her children and then herself. Yeah.
Yeah, and the
And it
7-year
was a
old who
postpartum
survived for a
depression
few,
case.
yeah, well, postpartum psychosis.
Yes.
But the 7-year-old child lived for several days, hung on for quite a while,
Yeah.
but she's passed now too.
She's passed now as
It's
well.
just so
Yeah.
sad.
Incredibly sad. Yeah.
How old was the youngest child? In this case, 7 months. So yeah, postpartum psychosis could have been part of it, but she definitely also had admitted to using drugs at the time.
Mhm. Yeah.
Just extremely sad.
Yeah,
Speaking
it
of
is.
sad, Katie, tell us, you have a case for us about an 11-year-old that was bullied to
Yeah.
death, yeah?
I do. I want to show you her cute little face. She deserves a moment in the sun. This poor little thing, what she was
Yeah.
through. This happened in Texas. Uh, Apparently, the last couple of months, this little girl has been tormented to no end by classmates threatening to call ICE on her family and telling her that all of her family was going to get deported and she would be all alone and there would be no one to take care of her. And her parents have been to the school multiple times and said, hey, this is happening. We need some help. All these zero tolerance bully schools.
Right.
So the school did absolutely nothing. They said it didn't get any better whatsoever. It was absolute abuse at school. and daily abuse from kids who thought it was funny to say these things to her and make these threats. And unfortunately, she took her own life
It's
out
so
of
sad.
terror that her family, her name was Jocelyn Carranza, out of terror that her family was all going to be deported. I'm going to say right now, I kind of suspect that her family wasn't illegal because they were working with the school. They've spoken in the news. They have been very present with the hospital. She lived for 5 days before she passed in the hospital. Um, this is just bullying. This is just being allowed. This is shit kids are hearing at home and threats that they're hearing, and they're taking it to school and using it as a way to bully children literally to death.
Yeah.
So all of
Well,
our
there needs to
love
be some
to her
accountability.
family, and absolutely there needs to be some accountability to the school. This should not be allowed to be happening at school.
And to these children and their parents. Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yep.
And that is so sad. My God.
Yep. It's horrific. Well, Jocelyn, you didn't deserve this, baby girl, at all.
No. No. And people, seriously, parents, you have got to get a clue about the things that you say and the way that they impact the things that your children say and do.
Yep.
And
But
how
if we're going to have
damaging.
a zero tolerance policy for bullying, and every school has one, when are we going to
Yeah.
enforce that again?
Yeah.
Or is that
And when
only
are
for
we going
some
to
kids?
include parents in that accountability?
Mm-hmm.
That if your kid can't straighten up, maybe they can't be in school.
Yeah.
If you can't manage
Maybe
this.
they're the ones that don't belong there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yikes. Wow. Well, speaking of bullies, do y'all remember this guy right here? Oh, sorry.
No.
You don't because you haven't seen him yet. Because where is the picture of him that I just... Oh, there it is. Never mind. This guy, this jackass right here. Remember this guy?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. I know this
This
case.
guy, that's Andrew Lester. If you remember, Andrew Lester is the guy who shot a kid through his front door, who just knocked on the door looking for his brother and was at the wrong house. Remember this?
Yep.
He shot this cute dude right here with his clarinet, Ralph Yarl.
Yep.
Just Ralph Yarl sent to an address to pick up his brother.
Yep.
Went to the wrong house, and Andrew Lester fired through the glass door and shot him and killed him.
Yep.
Because there was a black teenager standing on his front step.
And he felt threatened.
Yes. This asshole right here. Well, I don't know if this is justice or if it isn't. But he did plead guilty last week. Unfortunately, what he pleaded guilty to was assault. But that is
assault.
It's yeah.
Yeah.
It's
not
just his.
murder. Yeah.
Yeah. So, guess what? He was due to be sentenced on March 7th, but guess what? He died. He's 86 years old. And he died on February 19th. He died today.
Wow.
So he died before his sentencing. Died, before there was some actual
full accountability. Yeah.
For him.
But
I would hate
assault?
to be
assault. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to say in this. Can you imagine being that guy's family?
No. No.
I can't either. Oh, Joellen says the Ralph Yarl thing was close to where I live. Wow. So
wow.
sad and scary and fucked up. And this guy really never had any accountability for what he'd done.
Nope. Not enough. Not
Yeah.
enough at all.
Yeah.
Oh, I have a
Just
tiny bit of Lori
disgusting.
Vallow news.
Oh,
Uh,
let's hear that.
she had, in Idaho, they had filed for basically an indefinite extension for her appeal, and that was
Oh,
granted
yes.
yesterday. So
Ah, okay.
we don't know when this will finally make it to, through the appeals court. It's going to be years.
Oh, yeah.
And
I
so
mean, they're not going to do much with it until her trials in Arizona are done. I mean, there's not really a lot of point to.
that's part of it. Part of it is that they haven't even received all of the evidence from Chad Daybell's trial yet, and that they needed to acquire for hers. And also, we know that the appellate attorneys in Idaho are extremely underwater and they are years behind in being able to make their appeals heard. So, at any rate, there probably
Mhm.
won't be any more on that for a good long time to come, which is fine because all eyes on Arizona, right?
Definitely. Definitely.
Yeah,
I mean, I mean, these appeals are just performative anyway. They're not
yeah,
going to, they're not going to win these appeals against her convictions in Idaho. There's no way.
no, mm-mm. Yeah. I wanted to run back to the bullying for just a minute. Jennifer said that she said she thinks that sometimes the schools are afraid of the bully's parents, and so they don't do anything about it. And that was our experience. When my son was in grade school, he had quite the bully who his favorite pastime, he told the principal he loved doing this because he thought it was so funny because it made my son cry, to push him
Ugh.
down and spit on his face.
Oh, God.
And there were very few repercussions here. In fact, the repercussions were typically on my kid. He wasn't allowed to play soccer on the playground anymore because this other kid kept beating him up while they played soccer. He wasn't allowed to play with certain groups of kids because this kid played with those groups of kids. Basically, my kid was just being asked to, stay away from him at all costs. But the
That
principal
is
pinned
so
him down about it. He
ridiculous.
said, why? Because my son typically got along with everybody. The only altercations he ever had with this kid is when he was trying to protect other kids from him because he was a terror to
Yeah.
everybody. But his mom was the one of the bus drivers for the school and also worked in the school cafeteria. And so anytime he got in trouble, he would run straight to the cafeteria and hide behind her.
Ugh.
And there was just little comeuppance. It was a hard situation for me too because my mom was a teacher at that school.
Yeah.
And we were really admonished from the principal that we just needed to take the higher ground here and just keep the peace, which was
So gross.
bullshit. The
Yeah.
bulliest of bullshit. Well, I had asked if we could have a sit down meeting because it wasn't getting better. My son didn't even want to go to school anymore. And he didn't deserve this at all. And the principal would be the first one to tell you he's not doing anything to deserve this. But I just really need him to stay away from Seth. He just needs to stay away from him. And he finally
'Cause they
said,
didn't want
yeah,
to have to control the actual problem.
right. But he told my mom and I that this kid's dad was known to be violent. Therefore, he did not want to call a meeting with the parents because he was very intimidated by this boy's father. And it's a tricky situation because his mom works here. Well, I don't know. Maybe she shouldn't. If
Yeah.
her kid is this empowered to be terrible to everybody at the school.
Right. Like those are all reasons for Micah to be the one to suffer? What the hell?
hmm But when he told
So
the
gross.
principal, he just thought it was funny to push him down and spit on his face because it upset him so much. So the last day of fourth grade, last day in that school, the principal called me. We've had a little altercation. And I'm like, this is my kid's last day in this school. I'm all over this. And I kind of let him have it. I said, you and your school have failed to protect my son. Oh, Mrs. Weaver, that's not fair. Oh, like hell, it's not fair.
Right.
And he said, I've already called the principal at the middle school and let them know that these boys have a past. I said, these boys don't have a past. Seth has a
Mhm.
past. I said, don't you include my kid in this like he's part of the problem when you know damn well he isn't. And
Yeah.
he was like, well, I just let them know they probably shouldn't be on the same team or on the same bus. Cool, cool. First day of 5th grade. Guess who's on his bus? Seth. Guess who
Mhm.
punches him in the stomach? The first day. Seth.
Yeah.
Guess who threw him off the bus and wouldn't let him ride that bus ever again? The bus driver, who actually said, I'm not going to have a kid like that on my bus. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
She was the first person who really stood up for him. And then in middle
And that's
school,
good.
Micah finally fought back and never hit him or like pushed back in that way, but it humiliated him in front of some other kids and the bullying stopped at that point. But I've never forgotten that the principal was unwilling to protect my kid because he was afraid of the dad of the other kid.
What a chicken.
Mm-hmm.
That is the same principal, though, who told our mom that he was intimidated by her. So
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
consider
Yes.
he was pretty pathetic. And our mom was not intentionally intimidating. She was just a strong personality and didn't take shit.
Uh-huh. And spoke up. She would say the uncomfortable thing. And most of the
She would.
women in his school were very demure, very mindful, right? And would never speak out.
Very
against the principal.
compliant.
Very compliant.
But
and our
not
mom
our
was
mom.
not that person. But she wasn't scary
Compliant.
enough, obviously, because
Right.
he was more afraid of Seth's dad than he was of my mother. Yep.
Yeah. Ridiculous. Ridiculous.
But yeah, so I agree with you entirely, Jennifer. I've seen it firsthand.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that is everything that we have for you.
Yeah.
We will be back here in about 15 minutes on a different live stream for the watch party. So come join us. I'm super curious. I know the story here, but I am very excited to see how this all plays out with this crazy story. And Teresa, is that meekness and compliance taught to Mormon boys? No, it's taught to Mormon girls.
Yep.
Yeah, it's taught to Mormon girls.
Yep.
But with that, thank you all so very much for being here. Join us for the watch party if you can. It's going to be a lot of fun. And we'll be back tomorrow with lots more great true crime. So, you know it. We are the True Crime Squad. Thanks for being here.
Take care.
Season 6, we're back again. Kristi and Katie, your crime time friends. Stories, justice, laughs collide. True Crime Squad, come join the ride. Grab the clues, let's take a stand. For victims' voices, hand in hand. True Crime Squad, it's time to shine. Season 6, your turn, your time. True Crime Squad, where justice meets hilarity.